What's going on, everybody? You're watching youtube.com/iAlexOnline. Today I'm going to be reviewing some Pokemon Trainer's Choice figures. These are the brand new figures from the Legendary Pokemon line. As you can see, I have a 3-pack here. This one contains Groudon, Rayquaza, and Kyogre. And this one is a 2-pack down here, which contains Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon. And then, of course, I have my favorite legendary bird, which is Lugia. These are the only one. This is actually the only legendary bird or single-pack legendary Pokemon that I saw at Toys R Us when I picked these up. Now, Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza also come in a single pack. But of course, it's a little bit cheaper to buy them as a bundle than if you were to buy them separately. These are about $13 each, $12.99 at Toys R Us. Unfortunately, they're not running up sale on Pokemon. A lot of times I do have buy one, get one 20% off, or just 20% off overall, or some coupons on Pokemon, but this week, it's back to school, so they're not really running any sales on toys. So yeah, these are $12.99 each. The 3-pack goes for $30, so if you wanted to just buy Kyogre, Rayquaza, or Groudon on its own, it's going to run you $12.99, but if you want all three, it's going to cost you $30, and then for some reason, the Primal 2-pack also costs $29.99. You only get 2, so it's not as good as a deal, and I was kind of disappointed by that. I wanted to pay $20, $25 even, but not the same price for 2 as I did for 3. But anyway, we'll go ahead and crack these right open. These are available at Toys R Us. They are brand new. So yeah, we're going to start with our 3-pack, and we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see, the figures come in a plastic casing with a metallic silver bottom. This is pretty similar to the way the individual characters come, except the individual characters come with a display case. Not these larger figures, but the individual smaller characters like Pikachu and the ones I reviewed previously, they come in a display case, which I thought was incredible because that's the first time we really got a collector's Pokemon series in the US. So I was really excited about that. So it's a little bit disappointing that these don't come with their own display case to keep them in. But they're still really cool figures. They haven't released these characters in a really long time. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out of their packaging and do a better review that way. Okay, so now we have our figures out of the packaging completely, and they are pretty decently sized figures compared to the regular Trainer's Choice figures. I mean, these are not in scale per se, but they do make the legendary Pokemon bigger than the standard Pokemon and so forth. So yeah, they're not scale figures in regards to the toys, but Tomy actually did release a set of figures that are now supposed to be to scale. They're in action poses of the Pokemon, so it's as if they were in battle, and they come in packs of 2. I know there's a Trico and a Pikachu set, and a Torchic, or it's Pikachu and Mudkip and Torchic and Trico in a battle set. And those are actually pretty cool figures as well. They're pretty good quality from what I could see. I didn't purchase any. But those are supposed to be to scale, so they're also releasing an Ash figure that would be to scale with these Pokemon, and then they do have in stores, in the Toys R Us that I went to yesterday, they do have the larger Pokemon as well. So there's a Charizard Y, as well as a Go-Goat, and these are all in scale with Ash. So the Charizard Y is much bigger than Ash, whereas the Pikachu looks as if to be the size that he would be in the anime. So, if you're looking for scale figures, that's definitely the way to go. But these, if you're looking for really cool, high-quality figures for collectible purposes, the Trainer's Choice line is my favorite. So we'll go ahead and review them real quickly. Groudon, these are fully articulate. Not fully, they don't have tons and tons of joints, but they do move. All the larger figures and the legendary Pokemon in the Trainer's Choice and in Tomy's lines in general now all have articulation. So as you can see, Groudon's arms move up and down. And each of them do that, and then his legs also kick forward and backwards as far as they can go because he does have spikes back here. These aren't the most complex jointed figures in the world. They do just pop out. So the arms and legs just pop out of their sockets that way. So they aren't extremely complex, but I do like the fact that they are articulated in some way. I find that a little bit better than just these figures that don't move at all. One thing I don't like about this figure right off the bat is this line here doesn't seem very pleasing looking. By looking at the image on the box, I mean, he does have a line there, but this just seems, it doesn't look like it's part of the character. It looks like it's an error in manufacturing. It just looks like a seam line instead of part of the character's line. So I don't particularly love that, but it's still a really great figure of these legendary Pokemon. And we'll move on now with Rayquaza. This figure does not have pretty much any articulation at all. His arms do move up and down, but that's about it. These ones do not pop out of their sockets. You really have to tug on those if you want to get them out. So his arms don't come out for some reason, unlike Groudon's. But that is the only articulation on him. Before I purchased him, I did expect his body to move. Honestly, I thought each segment would be jointed, but they are not. So he can only sit like this, and then his arms could go up and down. And he kind of sits lopsided too, which is a little bit weird because there's nothing on his tail to hold him up. So he doesn't sit like that, he sits like that, which is fine. Again, this one is probably going to be the most disappointing of the three. It's still a pretty cool figure of Rayquaza if you don't have one, and his arms do move up and down, but yeah, definitely not as cool as Groudon so far. And then we're going to go move on to my favorite, which is Kyogre. I was a Sapphire player when the games initially came out, so Kyogre is my favorite legendary from this generation. Now, as you can see, again, these figures are all really good quality. The paint jobs are really good. They're all really well made. Now, with Kyogre, his arms do move up and down, or his fins, I should say, I guess. His arms do move up and down. Again, these pop out, and then they just pop right back in. And then his tail, same thing, moves up and down. So again, as with my previous videos on Trainer's Choice figures, I just kind of love this line because they're bringing back old Pokemon for older players, and they're putting it in collectible packaging, so you know this is really not for children. Not that children can't play with them, because they are totally playable, but it's nice that you could have a line of Pokemon figures for both collectors and for children, of old and new Pokemon. So that is Kyogre. Now again, these Trainer's Choice packages all come with little status cards, not status cards, but data cards about each Pokemon that they come with. I'm not sure why they come with them. I guess it's more for display purposes than anything else. I kept the ones from the Pokemon that are in the display cases. I kept those with the figures, but the Pokemon that come with them that are not in display cases, I just kind of have a stack of these in my closet, doing nothing but collecting dust. But it says how much they weigh in kilograms, how tall they are in meters, or how long they are in meters, I guess that is, how much they weigh in pounds, and then how tall they are in feet. So according to this, he's 4.5 meters long or tall, and same thing with 14 feet 9 inches tall. So yeah. Okay, so they have the European, or the, I guess the rest of the world's measurements, and then they have the US measurements. So, according to this, he's 4.5 meters. It says tall, but that has to be long, because he's a whale. He's not going to be 4.5 meters tall. And then 14 feet 9 inches long, and 776 pounds, and 352 kilograms. So they have the conversion for the US, as well as the international markets. On the back of the card, it says Hoenn region, and it says his name in all different languages, which is Kyogre everywhere you go. And then on the front, it also says what type he is, and he's water. So that's the same thing for all the cards. There's not much more to it than that. Again, they're kind of pointless, they're kind of useless to me. I just have a collection of them in a stack in my closet, and that's probably where these will go as well. So now that we've done the standard figures, we're going to go ahead and move on to our Primal figures. So again, let's look at the box, because we did not look at the box really on the first one. So as you can see, you have a window to see the figures. It says Primal Groudon, Primal Kyogre in different languages. These are all black boxes, which they look so sleek. Honestly, when these figures first came out, I was like, that is a nice figure line. I cannot wait to see more of this. So I'm really excited that they continued the Trainer's Choice for a few years now, because they really are great figures. So yeah, we'll go ahead and pop this open. Again, these are the Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre. For some reason, they don't have Primal Rayquaza. I'm not too sure why, but they don't. So I wish this was a 3-pack, but what can you do? So again, let's look at the back of the box. You just have pictures of them, and again, what region they're from and their names. So we'll go ahead and open this up and take a look at them. Okay, so now here we have Primal Kyogre and Primal Groudon. So these figures, again, are in a 2-pack. They cost $30 for the both of them, and they are obviously in their Primal forms instead of just in their regular form. So we have Kyogre, which again, as I said, is my favorite Pokemon. His Primal look is pretty cool. These figures are different than the standard figures. For some reason, the articulation is just up and down in the arms, which is the same as on the other one. However, this one is jointed and they don't pop out like the other ones do. So for some reason, they made the joints on these different, which is interesting. I'm not too positive why. I'm assuming it's because these are translucent and you can actually see inside Kyogre. If you hold him up to the light, especially if you look underneath him, you can see inside him, which is pretty interesting, which is maybe why they didn't want you to see the joints inside the figure. But before I purchased the figure, I was curious as to why they made him translucent and Groudon not translucent. They just painted the yellow lava onto him instead of making him translucent with the yellow shining through as well. But I guess it was just because he's a water type, and it's kind of more accurate, I guess, to have a water type be translucent. If you think of jellyfish, that's kind of what this reminds me of. So I assume that's why they did it. I think it would have been cool to have Groudon have the same type of treatment where the yellow was underneath a translucent layer. But it is what it is. I still purchased them. I still think they're really cool. I was also hoping with Kyogre that we would see maybe like a battery pack or something in him, since he is see-through. I was hoping there might be like a button on his tail and just like a single battery in there that would make him light up. I think that would have been a nice touch. It didn't say anything on the package, so I was kind of just hoping on my own, but not expecting it. But yeah, I think that would have been a really cool touch to add, if you just could like squeeze him, or there's a button on his tail or something that would just make him light up so he'd actually be glowing. But yeah, again, he's a really cool figure. He is translucent. If you look all around him, he is translucent. You can see through his little fins, and then if you look through his stomach, you can see there, and through the top of his head, and everywhere that's translucent, or that's clear, is going to be translucent. So yeah, that is Kyogre. Again, he is different because his arms are jointed differently than he is on the standard figure. Now let's take a look at Groudon. Groudon, same thing. His arms move up and down. Do these pop out? These do pop out just like on the other figure. Actually, these are slightly different joints than on the standard figure. They do pop out, but they are slightly different. They're a little bit harder to pop out. His legs don't really want to pop out. No, his legs don't want to pop out, but again, they are jointed. They do move a little bit. Oh, there we go. That does pop out pretty easily. This one just is a little bit stuck. So yeah, his legs do pop out, so you can take them out. You can articulate them to make their legs move. So that's Groudon. Again, in my opinion, he's not as cool as Kyogre because they didn't do the translucent effect on him. Kind of just looks like he has cheese on his back with little pepperonis or something floating in it. So yeah, I think a translucent effect with the yellow paint underneath it would have been a little bit of a cooler effect, but again, I am not the designer of these toys, but I do endorse them because they are really cool looking. I don't get paid to say any of this. I just think that the fact that they're going back to classic Pokemon and making figures of some of our beloved characters, and then newer versions of those same characters with their Primal conversions, was a really cool thing to do. Again, they come with their cards. Not going to go into these again. These are just the Primal versions of the cards. So, supposedly, actually, let's take a look at these real quick because this is something I didn't realize, and maybe you guys did. Maybe it was just me that didn't realize this. But, yeah, according to this, Kyogre, when he is in his regular form, is 776 pounds, and when he gets into his Primal form, he's 948 pounds, and he also pretty much doubles in size. No, he does double in size, a little bit more than double in size. So supposedly he's 14 feet 9 inches normally, and Primal form he's 32 feet and 2 inches. So that's not something I realized. I kind of thought the Primal Pokemon were the same size, just looked different. But yeah, apparently they are different. So let's go ahead and now we'll take a look at the two characters side by side. As you can see, they actually did do a pretty good job with the size differences, which is not something I realized when they were in the box. But they are different sizes if you look at them side by side. You can see here, Kyogre is much shorter, or not Kyogre, Groudon is much shorter than his Primal counterpart, and his tail is much shorter as well. So they actually did do a pretty good job in accurately changing the size of them, which I am happy about. I didn't realize that they were even different sizes, but now that I know that they are, I am happy that they did that. So yeah, as you can see, this is the two figures side by side. There is a size difference. Again, they're all painted really well. I love the Trainer's Choice figures. They really do a great job. I'm so happy that Tomy has the rights to Pokemon again in the US, because when Jakks Pacific was making the Pokemon toys, there was no way I was buying them. But once Tomy started making them again, Tomy's the one I grew up with buying the Pokemon toys, so once they started making them again and the quality came back up, I was so ecstatic. But yeah, as you can see, if we do face-to-face, Groudon is slightly shorter in his normal form than he is in his Primal form, and you can see the tail is much longer in the Primal form. So that's Groudon side by side, and we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing with Kyogre. As you can see, his, let's say, wingspan is a little bit smaller in his normal form. His tail is longer in his Primal form, of course, because he is supposed to be longer. Now, I wouldn't say he's double the size, like the cards say, but he is definitely longer. So these, again, they're not to scale with each other even, but they are showing some size variation. Now, again, you can see the wings on him go up and down like this, where the wings on Primal flap up and down like this. So there's actually a little bit more maneuverability, I think, in this one. It would be nice if they rolled back and forth as well as flapping up and down, just so they would really be able to simulate good swimming motions. But yeah, these just kind of wave like this up and down. Same thing with the tail. And actually the tail on him is not movable, so that's interesting. I didn't realize that at first, but Kyogre's tail moves up and down on the normal figure, but it does not move up and down on the Primal figure, so that's very interesting. Alright, so we'll go ahead and move on, and we'll look at Lugia now, and that'll be the last figure of the video. I know it's already getting pretty long at this point, but there's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure you guys want to see these figures before you go out and spend a heck of a lot of money on them. Okay, so as you can see, here we have the Lugia figure from the Trainer's Choice line. This is the only legendary bird that I saw at Toys R Us. I know they do make other Pokemon in the single packs for the Trainer's Choice. As far as I could tell, I didn't see Ho-Oh. I looked online on ToysRUs.com as well, and the only one they're listing right now is Lugia. So I don't know if they're only making Lugia and not Ho-Oh, or what's going on with that, but as far as I can find, there's only a Lugia in this Trainer's Choice line, which I find very strange. If you're going to make one, why wouldn't you make the pair? But anyways, I am happy because Lugia is my favorite of the two. Again, this goes back to me playing Silver and not Gold. I mean, I did play both, but initially I only played Silver. So again, Lugia is my favorite of those two legendary birds. So I'm totally happy that it is Lugia that they chose if they aren't making Ho-Oh. Sorry to the Ho-Oh fans out there, but I don't make the executive decision, so maybe you could write to Pokemon or Tomy or see what you can do about that. But yeah, if you love Ho-Oh, or if you love Lugia, this is pretty much a great figure right out of the box, I could tell. I have a Lugia figure from the original Tomy release. Again, much smaller, because back then they were only making them small. They weren't making them larger for legendary characters or for the third evolutions of Pokemon. They were just making them all one standard size, and they weren't articulated or anything. So again, Tomy has evolved amazingly over time. The figures are so much nicer now than they were back then, and the figures back then were pretty good. Again, because once Jakks Pacific took over the rights to Pokemon, they were crap, even though that came later in time. But even back, way back when Tomy was making the original series of figures, they were pretty good quality, and these are even better. So I'm really excited about that. So again, on Lugia, his arms do articulate, so you could move them back and forth like this. I don't know why you would want to, honestly, just because if you move them like this, that's kind of awkward for a bird to be doing. But yeah, his arms do articulate. Again, his legs do as well. They pop out of their sockets. They're not complicated articulation, but they do move, which is fun for me. I don't know. It's just a little extra feature that is nice to have. Again, if you look at his back, really nice paint job all around. I really can't complain about these figures at all. The only thing I complain about is the price point. They are a little bit steep. I think that's because they consider them to be collector's figures, and they put them in nice packaging and boxes, so they upcharge. Not to mention they're Toys R Us exclusive, so Toys R Us, in my opinion, is the biggest rip-off toy store out there. But unfortunately, you can't get rid of that because they're only sold there. If I could buy these at Walmart, I totally would, but unfortunately the Trainer's Choice line is exclusive to Toys R Us, which I would avoid at all costs if I could, because they really do upcharge on everything. But yeah, anyways, the figure is really nice. His eyes, again, like perfect paint jobs all around on everything. The articulation is nice. The colors are freaking accurate as far as I can tell to both the anime and the games. Just really nice figures all around. The Trainer's Choice line, definitely, if you're into collecting Pokemon figures, if you used to collect them, but just stopped after a while for whatever reason, if it's because Jakks Pacific started making them and they looked like crap, come back to Tomy. Tomy makes amazing figures, and you're not going to be unhappy. Again, he comes with his data card, which gives you all his information on it. Not important, but yeah. Next thing I wanted to do real quick was just put the figures side by side of all just the standard editions of the figures, because I wanted to try something out. So we're going to see if this works. Just because the arms and stuff are jointed, I believe you should be able to pop them all out and move them around. I don't know if the holes are going to be exactly the same size. Maybe they won't be. So let's see if we can put... Yeah, we can do it. Lugia's arms on Groudon, because why not? Well. Alright, that's interesting. The left arm seems to take the wing, but the right arm must have a smaller hole. Yeah. According to these pegs, the left arm is bigger and the right arm has a smaller peg. So, interestingly enough, you cannot put Lugia's right wing on Groudon, but let's see, what if we do Kyogre on Lugia? So, if you're goofy and you just want to mess around with your Pokemon as well, make your own mashups, that is definitely a possibility with these figures because the articulation is interesting like that. Let's see what we can do with Kyogre here and Lugia's wings. So yeah, they kind of work. They don't exactly fit perfectly. Let's see if we did Kyogre with Groudon's arms. Oh yeah, look at that. That is a Pokemon. Look at that. Muscle Man Kyogre. Just like that. So, they don't stay perfectly, but the arms are interchangeable to a degree. They don't all fit perfectly. You'll make some ridiculous looking Pokemon, but why the heck not? So, that is it for the review of Pokemon Trainer's Choice Legendary Characters. If you love Kyogre, Groudon, and Rayquaza, the 3-pack is a great deal. $10 a figure isn't too steep. It's not exactly the cheapest figures out there, but they are really good if you're a collector and you love these old Pokemon. It's the only way you're really going to get them in good quality. They also released larger versions of both Rayquaza, or not Rayquaza, of both Groudon and Kyogre. They're about this big, so they're probably like almost a foot long and a foot tall in Groudon's case. And they are articulated and everything like that, but they're $30 a figure. So if you really love Rayquaza and Groudon, go ahead and pick those figures up. But if you're happy just having something smaller because you want to put it on display, which I will be eventually, go ahead and pick these figures up. They really are great condition. Again, I don't get paid anything for reviewing these figures, and I don't even get the figures for free. So I spent about $75 on these 3 packs of figures, and I'm doing it solely for you and for my own benefit because I do love these Pokemon, and I'm happy they are out once again for our purchasing and collecting pleasure. So, if you love these Pokemon, go ahead. I hope you take this review. I hope I've helped you, and I hope you could hit up your local Toys R Us and see what you could find because these really are great figures. I love each and every one of them. They're all individually different and unique in their own ways. So if these Pokemon are some of your favorites, if you grew up playing Ruby and Sapphire like I did, I was in about 5th grade when those games came out, so these Pokemon, as well as the originals, hold a pretty near and dear place in my heart. because once Diamond and Pearl came out, I was much older. So these Pokemon were probably the last generation of my childhood because I was in high school once Diamond and Pearl came out. So yeah, if you love these Pokemon, go ahead and pick them up. If you're a collector like me, I collect pretty much anything that I love. These are going to be a great addition to any collection. I hope you did enjoy this review. Like it, please comment, subscribe, send it to your friends. The more views I have, the more inspiring and encouraging it is to make more videos in the future. So thank you for watching if you've made it this far, and I will see you soon.